Okay, everybody. Last thing for today, because we've covered a lot, and in my next session, we're gonna eventually get to forearm balance and we're going to get to handstand. Today, we're going to stop at our tripod headstand. I love this one because it's a very accessible inversion in that you don't need to be a gymnast to be able to get this, right? You don't need to have any sort of momentum. You're not kicking up. In fact, we're never going to kick up in headstand because it's dangerous, right? Your whole life is in your head and you're literally putting that on the ground, right? So momentum is exactly zero here. But you know, if you form the strength for this pose, and I'm going to show you a way you can build that up, eventually things will start to happen, and you might start, I don't know, at 45 degrees today. You might eventually get to 50 degrees and then 55. It's a very slow process, and I'm just going to show you one of the very many ways to get into this position, okay? So I've actually put my socks on now. So there's a reason for this. You can also take a blanket. But recently I've learned a very interesting way to build up some strength and help get your hips stacked over your shoulders, okay? So we learned high plank, we learned low plank. Now we're going to do one where our fingers are interlaced, right? So we're interlaced, our elbows are directly underneath our shoulders. And now I'm gonna scoot back a little bit. Now we're just gonna get into our plank position, which you might be familiar of this position from my ab video workout from a few weeks back. All right, so now from here, we're already starting to feel our core engaged, right? We're building up that heat. Even just here would be like level 1, right? Here's a challenge, making sure you're not sagging. You wanna keep your a wide scapula, which is this region across your back, okay? All right. From there, we're gonna go from a plank to a pike, okay? So we're gonna just pike our hips to the sky, and you're gonna feel engagement all within your lower abdomen. And this is why I wore socks, so that I can slide in this, okay? So do a few of these, maybe like 10 of these. All right. All right. So we're gonna do a few of those, okay? And that's really gonna help you. If you go nowhere else, that is a huge achievement today. And that's going to build the strength in your shoulders. It's going to get muscle memory for that arm position, and it's really going to work on your core. So this is already starting to get, like I said, your hips over your shoulders. Okay, so now that we're ready to, and by the way, the warm-up for this was Halasana, which was plow pose, if you'll remember from the first video. So now we're gonna be getting into our Sirsasana, or tripod headstand, okay? So we have, like I said before, our elbows are directly underneath our shoulders, our fingers are interlaced, and we're gonna form a base on the floor, okay? I'm just gonna move this mat up a little bit, just to give me a little bit more space. All right, so we have our base on the floor, and you can use your pinkies to sort of form that foundation, okay? And what you're looking down at should look like a space that's ready for your head, okay? So, one thing to remember here, we're putting the crown of our head on the ground. So we don't want to have our neck too far back like this, and we don't want to have our neck too far forward like this, okay? So if you take your thumbs and put them on your ears, and then wrap around so that your index fingers meet at the top of your head, that meeting place, that's your crown. So press down on it a little bit so that you know and you can feel on your body that that's the place that we're looking at, okay? So what I'm going to do, and I'm just going to walk you through it, and then I'm going to do it so I don't talk. So I can, breathing is important, as you can imagine, in these inversions. Anyway, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna set up that base that we looked at before. We're gonna put our crown of our head on the ground, okay? Then we're going to hug from all sides our head with our arms, right? So this fingers interlacing should be cupping the back of your head, and your arms should try to squeeze in. So we want to make sure to squeeze in as much as possible, because I promise you, you're going to want to widen them in the arm balance, which is less stable for you and a little bit more dangerous, okay? So once we do that, we're going to slide in to our pike like we just practiced in our little prep workout. And then we're gonna lift one leg off the ground and then maybe a second leg off the ground. So you're just gonna be, this is good. We're just gonna look like this, except I'll be rotated. And then if you feel stable there, then we'll start to straighten the legs, okay? And then we're gonna exactly reverse to come out of it. So we'll bend back and place our feet, okay? So here we go. Foundation. And girls, you might want to move your hair out a little bit because you don't want it to get stuck underneath you. And one last thing I want to mention, by the way, so I'm hardly putting any pressure on the top of my head. So even though it is a headstand, you want to minimize that pressure, again, because you don't want that crunching in the neck. We always want to have a long, elongated neck, right? So I'm really carrying a lot of that weight from the rest of my base, which is that tripod I'm forming with my hands and my elbows. So I don't know if I was completely vertical or not. That's sort of the challenge in this pose, right? Because you're learning and you can't really see yourself. A mirror is really difficult. So I have a mirror in front of me, but I bet you'll find that if you try to look in the mirror, you're going to lose some of that engagement, right? You're going to lose focus. And what you want to do is you want to just concentrate on that feeling in your core. You want to make sure that you're engaged, but also that you're breathing, okay? So this is only one way to get into it. You can put, like, if you feel like that's too much pressure on your head, you can put a blanket underneath your head, no problem. I probably wouldn't put a pillow here, only because you're losing the connection to the ground at that point, right? And it can slide and all kinds of stuff, but maybe a blanket would be all right there. Like I mentioned, that pike position that I came in, you can also put a blanket there. We lifted one leg at a time. There's all kinds of ways. You can lift both legs. If you have that core strength, dude, just go for it, right? I'll show you one more that I like to do because I tend to, and I'm gonna take my socks off for this one. I tend to not come in from bent knees, so if you want to try one more time, you can try the way I'm doing it now too. So all the principles are the same, except I'm gonna start with straight legs. And I'm learning along with all of you, so once again, I don't hold them too long either. So I'm just gonna come up and I'm gonna come right back down. All right. So I've walked my feet up so that my hips are over my shoulders. And if you have this flexibility, there you go. Now, once again, it is a flexibility game here though. So as you can see, I'm kind of in a whole standing split. So great way to do it too, Reminder, never kick up, even though I look like I'm in a kick up position. It's all, you're bringing the weight of your legs up from your core muscles, okay? So as usual, if you have any questions for me, let me know. There's other versions of headstand as well. So besides having this sort of base, you can have this sort of base. We're not going there today yet, okay? We'll do that on another day when we do handstand. Hope you enjoyed.